Hello everyone, my name is Abdul Rafe and today we are going to analyze the function and variables in Introduction to Python Programming lecture series. So today we have a brief introduction on function and variables. So let's begin. First of all, we need to understand the core concept of functions and variables. They are the fundamental components used to organize and manipulate code. So, variables are just like containers. They are used to store and manipulate data in Python. They are dynamically typed, which means their type is inferred from the assigned value. For example, if you assign a string to a variable, Python knows it's a string type. There are more in variables, but first let's run our code in VS Code. Variable promote flexibility as they can reassign to new values. This allows you to update and modify your data as your program progresses. Let's write a code for variables. Here you have seen that name is equals to John. First we assign the string to a variable and make sure the string should be in inverted commas, otherwise the VS Code show error on your terminal window. So here I write the code for the variables. Name is equals to John, print name. So in our terminal window, if I write either Python intro.py and run our code, that it's print John. You can write any name, any different name, but make sure the name you enter should be in inverted commas. So for the greeting purpose, if I write hello John and then I write in terminal window python intro.py, then it will show hello John for the greeting. And obviously I can say if I write age 25 or 40 or anything and print age, print name, then print age, it will show first the name and then show the age on the next line. So let's run our code and see what happened. So here as you have seen that in the first line it prints John and in the second line it prints the age of the John. If you don't want to write the name and the age on both lines, then you can write the name and age on a single line, and the make sure to write comma between both, so it will add both the name and the age, as you have seen that John and 25 on a single line. So you can write comma between them to separate, and you can write the f string, and also you can write plus so that it will add both of the keywords name and age. Descriptive variable names using lowercase letters and underscores makes the code more understandable. For example, instead of using the x as a variable name, you can use the name or total sales or anything that provide clear meaning of your code so that the third party can understand your code easily. Now let's understand functions. What are functions? Functions are the block of reusable code that perform specific tasks. First you break your code into different functions and you call that function instead of writing the whole code. They promote code modularity, allowing you to break down complex problems into smaller and manageable chunks. Functions improve code reusability as you can call the same function multiple times in a different parts of your program without rewriting the code. Functions are defined by the keyword def followed by the function name and parentheses and a colon. So here is the example of the function. So let's run our code to understand the usability of function. So here in VS Code I write the function name def start by the function name greet for the greeting purpose and parentheses and a colon. The function body is intended and contains the code to be executed when the function is called. For example, you can define a function called calculate sum to add two numbers, or you can define the function's greet with the name so that when a person call the function, it will greet the person. First, I write here print statement with the inside the print I write hello for the greeting and hello plus name. Make sure to write your name with f string so that it will print the name. If I write in inverted commas, it exactly print hello name, not the actual name. So after that, I call the function greet and pass the variable name to the function. I can write any name, let's say lice. Make sure that you do not call the function inside a function. You should call the function outside that function, so it will print exactly the name lice. So if you want to ask user to write the name and then you greet him or her with the name that he or she writes, then you can pass a variable name for the input function and ask user to enter the name. So when user enter the name, it will greet the exactly the same name that user enters. Let's run our code and let's see what happens. So here I write wrong command python intro.py. It asks for username, let's say Rafe. So hello Alice. Here what's the mistake I have done, that I pass the variable Alice. The function print the same exact variable that you pass when you call the function. So make sure when you call the function, pass the variable name that you ask for input. So let's run again and it asks for the name, let's say Rafe, and when I run it's a hello Rafe. So if you want anything rather than the hello, hi, anything you can write in print statement, but make sure to write it in inverted commas. The next thing here is function parameters. Parameters are also variables defined within the parentheses of a function's definition. When the function is called, values called arguments are passed to these parameters. There are different types of parameters: positional parameters and the keyword parameters and variable length parameters. So let's start with the positional parameters. Positional parameters are defined by their position and matched within argument based on their order. So let's understand the other two parameters and then we will write our code on VS Code to understand. So the next one is keyword parameters. Keyword parameters have default values and can be passed using their corresponding parameter names. Here is the example of the keyword parameters. We pass the keywords inside the parenthesis, and the other is the variable length parameter. Variable length parameters have allow functions to accept a variable number of arguments. So here is the star arguments and star keyword arguments. So let's write the code for these three parameters to better understand what the logic behind these three parameters. So let's begin. First of all, we have to write the function name and the parameters in the parentheses. In the previous example, you have seen the function for the addition. So here I will write the function for the subtraction of two variables. So here I give the name of the function subtract and pass both two variables x and y in the parentheses, and make sure to write the colon at the end of the function, otherwise it will show error. Here it will return the subtraction of x minus y. For the addition it will return x plus y. The return statement allows the function to send a value back to the caller. The return value can be stored in a variable or used in further computations. Functions can also return multiple values using tuples list, which are ordered collection of elements. We will discuss the list and the tuples in our next video. So here at the last I will call the function and store it in the variable name results, and then after that I will print result. So when I run, it will show error, as I know. So let's see what I have done in the code so that I will correct. Here I write a minus b, and the variable that I defined are x minus y, so it will show error. Oops, I didn't print the variable result. So let's start again. Python intro.py, and as you have seen that it will print the value of the subtraction. 5 minus 3, the result is 2. You can write anything, is as you have seen that there is single 2, and which the user didn't understand what the purpose of 2, so you can write the result is, or the result of the subtraction is. So so it will make our code looks better. The answer is, make sure to write f string if you are writing something before your answer or output, so it will print the exact same thing that you want to print. And let's change our code a little bit. Rather than passing the arguments, let's write for the input purpose. So the computer will ask user to enter two numbers, and then it will show the subtraction of both numbers. So what I've done that I choose two variables x and y because I've passed these two variables as an argument and then take an input from user, as we have done previously. X is equals to int input. I have used int here. Int is used for the integer so that the user will write the integer rather than the float or anything. These are called the data type. Python supports various data types such as integers, whole numbers, floating point numbers. Numbers with floating point numbers are the numbers with decimal points. It string text, list, order of sequences, and dictionaries for key values pairs. We will understand the list and dictionaries in our next videos. So variable in Python can hold values of different data types, and Python automatically handles the types conversion when necessary. So it will help the coder to write the better code. So here I write that x is equals to int input number 1 and int input number 2 for the integer conversion. It will show error. I Let's fix our bug. A good programmer should know how to fix and handle the error in the code. Don't be panic when there is any error in your code. Just try to look at your code and try to fix your code. So let's find what I've done the mistake here. So here in the result I will pass the arguments 5 and 3 rather than x and y because I ask user to input the numbers x and y. So I write the input inside the function, and the purpose of function is just to pass the subtraction variable. So here I write both our inputs outside the function. Here it shows again an error. What's the mistake inside? Let's run again. It asks for first number. Here I write 2 and 3, and the subtraction result is 1. So so here is the result. Let's move towards our second parameter, that is the keyword parameter. Let's write the code for it and understand. Here we will again write the function starting with the keyword def, which defines the function, and followed by the name. Let's say this time our name is greet. In a parenthesis we pass two variables keyword arguments, let's say name and greeting, and I pass the value to the greeting function, that is hello. After that, in the print statement, what I like to print is the greeting and the name. So we will create the name in our terminal window. So after greeting, here I write name. So here I use the plus sign between greeting and name. You can write plus, comma. Both purpose is to add the both variables. So after that I'll call the greet here, the function name along with the name that we want to greet. I have defined the greeting hello in the function parenthesis, but here I will again give the greeting hi. So let's see what prints the greet function. Here is an error and I mistakenly didn't give the inverted commas for hello. Make sure to give inverted commas as I have told you before. To as you pass the variable a name or anything that you must be write it in parentheses, inverted commas. So here it write hi Rafi. It it prints hi just because I write the argument hi and the name Rafi. So if I didn't write the argument hi, it will definitely print the hello because I have passed it before. So as you have seen that there is no any space between hi and Rafe. It is because of plus sign. I have used plus sign. If I use comma and the space, then it will print the space between hi and Rafe. Let's write hello again, and this time don't pass the greeting variable. So let's run our code again and see what happened. So as you have seen that it will print hello Rafe, but there is no space between hello and Rafe and it looks very bad. So what to do to add the space between hello and Rafe? Let's see. Let's add the extra spaces between inverted commas and let's see what happens. If I run this, it will show an error. As I've told you that it shows an error and it says that the invalid syntax. So what to do? Should I add here the comma? Let's add comma and then see what happens. Hello Rafe. It will show this space here and it looks pretty good. Let's just add the comma instead of the plus sign and add an extra space between the name and greeting. It will definitely show the hello space and Rafe. Rafe is the default name. You can ask user to enter the name and after it you will greet the username. So as I told you before that you can write name and the input and write the enter your name. But in the greet statement, when you call the function, you write the name rather than the actual name because this time you ask user to enter the name. So what you do here is you need to call the function with the name. Let's run our code and it will definitely show an error message. Let's see, as I have told you that because I didn't pass the variable name here, that's the reason the code will show an error. It asks for the name. I give the name and it will create the name definitely. Let's write another time, run our code. Sorry, I mistakenly write the wrong name of Python. This time I write John and it will create hello John. So that's all for the variable keyword parameter. The functions are called by using the function name followed by parentheses. Remember this thing, do not call the function without parentheses. And if you want to add the arguments can be passed to the functions by providing values within the parentheses. As I have passed the argument here, the name inside the parentheses of the function name greet. Let's write the code for the variable length parameters star arguments and star keywords. So first we will write the code for the star arguments. The special syntax is star arguments in function definition in Python is used to pass a variable number of arguments to a function. It is used to pass a non-keyworded variable length argument list. The syntax is used to symbol star to take a variable number of arguments. By convention, it is often used with the word args. What star args allow you to do is to take is more arguments than the number of formal arguments that you have previously defined. For example, we want to make a multiply function that takes any number of arguments and is able to multiply them all together. It can be done using star arguments. Using the star, the variable that we associate with the star become iterable, meaning you can do things like iterate over it, run some higher order functions such as map or filter, etc. But here we will write the function for the multiplication just to understand what the star args do. Here I define the argument with the name start with star and then the num. After that, inside our multiplication function, we first need to write the variable result that is equals to 1 so that if user didn't write any number then it will print 1 rather than 0. Here I write for loop for the iteration. We will understand this in our next videos, but let's understand the basic functionality of this loop. This loop will run 3 times because I've written here for num in numbers and I pass 3 numbers. So this loop will run 3 times and every time it will store the multiplication result in the result variable. After 3 times it will return the result and at the last we call the function and print the result. So that's the reason it will show the output. Here the output is 24 because I have written here 2 3 and 4, so 2 3 the 6 and 6 for the 24. So let's understand the keyword arguments. The keyword arguments in Python is used to pass keyword variable length argument list. We use the name keywords with the double star. The reason is that the double star allows us to pass through keyword arguments. The every each and every time we pass the keyword. In the previous time we write the 2 3 and 4, but this time we provide a name to the variable as we pass it into the function. For example, x is equals to 2, y is equals to 3, z is equals to 4. So here again we define the function with name multiply for keyword arguments, and this time we provide a name to a variable x, y, and z, or anything a, b, c, d that you want to write. So the code structure is similar to the previous one. Here I write result is equals to 1 for loop for num in numbers, but num in numbers, and then we write the result star is equals to num, return num, and then we will write, we call the function multiply, and in the parentheses we provide a name to our variables. x, y, and z. But we provide here the numbers dot values. This is the main difference between keyword arguments and non-keyword arguments. What this dot values function is do, it will keep the names of the variables, the values that you have provided, and multiply it and store it to the variable result, and then result return the result. So here I assign the name answer to the function multiply and then print the answer. Sorry, I have mistakenly written over there. Write it in the parentheses of print. So when we write python intro.py, here as you have seen that the answer is 24. Let's change the values of our variables and let's see whether it works or not. So here it works and gives the output 504. So the main difference between keywords and non-keywords is that it allows us to give the name to a variable. So that's all for the functions and variables in Python. In the next video, we will solve some problem statements on functions and variables and practice some code. That's all for today, and if you have any query, any question, you can ask me in comment section. Thank you very much.